10 for 10 for the week ending October 11, 2025. Want a quick 10-minute wrap-up of the week's compliance news? Well, this is the podcast for you, 10 for 10, where Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, wraps up 10 top compliance stories which occurred over the past week. If you don't know, Tom has a daily news podcast, appropriately called the Daily Compliance News, and 10 for 10 wraps up the week. So get up on a Saturday morning, have a great cup of coffee, and check out 10 for 10, the podcast which gives you the week's top compliance news. Are you interested in upping your game in compliance through the use of AI and machine learning technology? Well, check out my latest book, Upping Your Game, How Compliance and Risk Management Move to 2030 and Beyond. You can check it out in the show notes. I've got a link to the purchase at Amazon.com. Upping Your Game. Our first story comes to us from the Bloomberg Law, which reports that the surge in esports requires navigating a privacy compliance maze. Esports is one of the largest growing spectator sports, but most of the fans, not most of them, all of them are consumers, and that means that data privacy concerns are to the forefront. Obviously, the GDPR leads the world in privacy, but even in the United States, under the CCPA and Section 5 of the FTC Act relating to unfair or deceptive business practices, video games are obtaining personal identifiable information, and are you compliant with it? Big problem. Next up, Tom Homan, the head of ICE, who received $50,000 from FBI agents, has not returned it, and he may not have to return it. It's pretty amazing. But this has certainly many novel twists, starting with the Trump administration's shutdown of the investigation of Homan, who received $50,000 in cash from FBI agents in a sting operation, and the money may not have to be returned. How about that? Next up, also from the New York Times, Jose Uribe, the star witness in the Menendez bribery case, avoids prison time. The former aide to the senator was given 6 months home service or home jail time, or home confinement, I guess, with 3 years of supervised release. His cooperation was deemed extraordinary by the court. He accepted his responsibility, and his cooperation during the prosecution of this matter has been exceptional in every respect. Prosecutors told the judge, and the judge agreed with that. Next up from the Financial Times, Halkbank Bank, the Turkish bank, has to face criminal charges after the U.S. Supreme Court rejects its appeal, leaving the state-controlled lender to face criminal charges that had helped Iran evade economic sanctions and launder billions of dollars through the American financial system. The court refused to consider Halkbank's claim that is protected from prosecution by sovereign immunity. So Halkbank may actually finally have to get called to justice. And finally, an article from Semaphore, an article, or rather a publication I was not aware of. Nevertheless, it reports that the mega project in Saudi Arabia, two senior executives, the $63 billion real estate development in Riyadh, have been detained by Saudi Arabia's anti-corruption watchdog, according to people familiar. The detentions have been recently made as part of an investigation by the Oversight and Anti-Corruption Authority. So, very interesting that the Saudis are now determining that corruption may actually be a problem in the kingdom. We can only see where this might go. Next up from Reuters, it reports that President Trump is considering pardons for both Sean Diddy Combs and Ghislaine Maxwell, who had been convicted of helping late financier Jeffrey Epstein sexually abuse teenage girls. The Supreme Court declined to hear Maxwell's bid to overturn her conviction, and of course Diddy was recently sentenced to, I believe, 4 years in prison. If Trump does pardon these, I think the outroar will be pretty significant, particularly around Maxwell, as she is a key part of the allegations against Jeffrey Epstein. And given Trump's refusal to release the Epstein files, I think even his supporters may find that a little scant. As to Diddy, he supports Diddy and thinks Diddy's a great performer. So it will be really no surprise for that to happen. But the U.S. justice system keeps convicting people. Trump just keeps on pardoning them. Next up, Johnson, as reported in the New York Times, has been ordered to pay $966 million in the latest talc lawsuit, as a Los Angeles jury ordered J&J to pay that amount to the family of a California woman who died from a rare and aggressive cancer after the company was found liable in a lawsuit claiming its baby powder products caused cancer. The woman who died in 2021 developed mesothelioma after using the powder, years of using the powder, because it was contaminated with asbestos. So more bad news for Johnson & Johnson, although J&J said they would immediately appeal and called it egregious and unconstitutional. So, next up from NPR. What is crony capitalism and why is it so ubiquitous? Well, there's one more: Trump. As we have seen the boundaries, or the blurring of boundaries, between government and business under President Trump, it has some commentators ringing the alarm over crony capitalism, a corrupt system where political power meets big business. So they have a podcast on this, and I can only say that we're not close to it. We are here in the United States with crony capitalism. Next up, how about some good old fraud? Well, we have that from Bloomberg, as a UK citizen has pled guilty to charges that he swindled nearly $100 million from investors by claiming he held a collection of rare and valuable wines. James Wellesley changed his plea from not guilty to guilty, and he was originally charged and fought extradition before he was brought here. From 2017 to 2019, he defrauded investors by claiming that their company, Bordeaux Cellars, brokered high-interest loans to wine collectors who supposedly put up rare vintages as collateral. The men claimed to be holding a large stockpile of wines worth thousands of dollars. Investors were promised regular payments from the wine, but prosecutors said neither the collectors nor the wine ever actually existed. I think maybe some due diligence was in order. Maybe they could go see J.P. Morgan and the due diligence they did on Charlie DeVisa's company. But I digress. So some good old fraud and some really rich people who got in trouble because they didn't do due diligence. And our final story comes to us from the New York Times, which asks how private equity oversees the ethics of drug research. So what happens when you have to do drug research and then you have to test on that research, and the testing company is owned by your same PE owner? Does that sound like a conflict of interest to you? Well, no surprise. And that's what happened with Novo Nordisk, when they wanted to test the main ingredient in Ozempic. And their PE firm that owned them wanted to use a board owned by the PE firm. So Novo wanted to hire their own independent reviewers, but with PE, it's always questionable whether that will happen or not. Thanks for listening to this episode. I hope you'll join us again next Saturday for another edition of 10 for 10. And if you'd like a daily news, check out the Daily Compliance News on the Compliance Podcast Network. This is Tom Fox again. 10 for 10 is a special production of the Compliance Podcast Network. I'd also urge you to check out the Daily Compliance News, which posts every week from Monday to Friday, where I give 4 curated stories of bribery, corruption, and compliance events that will allow you to help you start your day as well. So check out the Daily Compliance News and subscribe or rate and review to both 10 for 10 and the Daily Compliance News. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of 10 for 10. I hope you'll check out the newest podcast in the Compliance Podcast Network, the Compliance Tip of the Day. In Compliance Tip of the Day, I give a 5 to 8 minute summary of one tip that you can integrate into your compliance program or put together for greater compliance program efficiency. Finally, if you're a Sherlock Holmes fan, I am preparing a new season of Adventures in Compliance where I go through the 4 novels of Sherlock Holmes. Hear it on the Compliance Podcast Network.